Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Victor the Analyst. And today we're gonna be talking on how to use making simple problem statement to solve real life problem. So what's making simple problem statement? Making simple problem statement is a framework that is used to understand a problem. You can't solve a problem if you don't understand the problem. So I'm going to go down to was just a minute. Okay, yes, it. So, what is the framework all about? The framework requires that we ask six questions, which is what is the problem? Where and when does the problem occur? Who is affected by the problem? What is affected? And what will make a solution successful? And the last one is what are the boundaries? Like what are the boundaries between your your problem and your success? Like what is going to hold you back? But in our own case, I don't think anything is going to hold us back because we already have the all the data needed. And on these are projects that we're going to work on. It is the name of the company is called Samtech. So Samtech called us as a data analyst. They have experienced a significant drop in sales over the last 12 months. So after some probing using McKinsey framework, we later realized that the company changed their user interface and they added a new product called Lenovo laptop because the company is they sells laptop and they sells laptop like during just online presence. They don't have physical presence. They sell the laptop online. So they removed the Lenovo laptop. They added Lenovo laptop and they removed Samsung from their collection. So from these, we actually draw out our objective. Our objective is to um, analyze historical data from sales analysis, and the main purpose of we analyzing the historical data is for us to diagnose to know what actually caused the 30% drop in the decline of the revenue, and the hypothesis we were able to draw from what actually happened in the previous time. We want to test the hypothesis which says that the website's redesign might have negatively have impacted the user experience. Like take for example, if your customer comes to your website and they don't really like your website, they might end up not buying from the site. Uh, and they actually want to test the we want to test the is it the Lenovo laptop that they added to their collection. Maybe customer didn't like it, or probably is it because they stopped selling Samsung. So these are the three hypotheses we are going to test. And for us to test these three hypotheses, we actually need data to test these hypotheses. And the data needed is revenue. We need the revenue. We need the customer user experience review. We actually need the revenue generated by these phones by the what's it called by the Lenovo and Samsung as well. So these are the steps that we're going to take to achieve what we want our set goals. The first process is going to be we're going to do the cleaning and transforming our data into proper shape, and we're going to analyze to get our primary KPI, which is going to be our total revenue, total transaction, and the third KPI is going to be average order value. The fourth KPI is going to be the growth rate. So our secondary KPI is the revenue by the product, US review, that is the user interface review by the number of transaction. That is going to give us the number of frequency based on the what did the customer actually picked because we're going to grade the user interface reviews graded from 1 to 5. So 1 be the least, which is going to be very poor, and 5 the highest. So the third one is going to be revenue by year and by month, just to know the revenue trend. And we're going to have revenue by days of the week. So the next step after doing this, the next step is going to be for us to find our insights. Our insight is going to make us find, no, sorry, the after analyzing our data, we're going to get our findings. We all know that findings is different from insights. Findings is just like your observation, what you actually get from the data, and we are going to draw out our insights from our findings. So our insights is going to lead us to our recommendation. So what we're going to recommend to the business, what they're going to do. But right now, will take us to the tools we're going to use to analyze data is Excel, and I'll show us the dirty data. You see how shabby it is. But let me go there. Let me go to Excel. So this is Excel. So I'm going to get the data using. I'm going to get the data by extracting it into Power Query. So from Power Query, we're going to do the cleaning, the transforming, EDA, and check for DQD. Any data that is not needed, we're going to remove them and things like that. Make the data be into proper shape for us to uh, analyze the data. So I'll go to home. I'm sorry, I went to data from, let me start all over again. So now let's look at this. As I make my steps, I'm going to be saying every step that I make in case of us that are jotting my stuff. So I will go to data. From data, I'll go to get data drop down. Then I'll go to from file. And mind you, my file is in Excel file. That's what I'm clicking on from Excel workbook. Then I'll click on Excel workbook. So this one is going to take me to, I'll go to, my data is saved in my desktop. Then I'll check on skill ahead portfolio. I'll come down to this point. So this is my data. I'll click here and I'll say import. So this is going to take us to Power Query. So what's Power Query? Power Query is a tools in Excel that is used for cleaning, transforming, and loading data back to our Excel workbook. So back in those days, if I want to actually do my cleaning and all those things, I will actually need to write code for me to do that. But Excel make it very easy by creating what you call Excel. So you cannot have a jacksaw. You know what jacksaw means? Jacksaw is that machine using cutting tree, and you say you want to use a cutlass. So you actually go for a jacksaw. So that's what we're gonna do now. I'm going to show us how to use Power Query to clean data. So that I'll click on sheet 1, then I'll click on transform. So me clicking on transform will actually take me to the Power Query interface. So someone asked me in my class, why do we have to have a primary key? So I would like to share more light on that. Primary key is like a unique identifier that has, like, take for example, when you go to a store and you buy your stuff, there's something they call transaction ID. Like primary key, it's a unique identity that records a single row in your data. So if you go to your bank, like let me bring it in this real life scenario. Now let's take for example now you do a transaction and the transaction was not successful. You'll be asked to go to the bank. There's one thing the bank will ask from you. They will ask you for what's the transaction number. That transaction number will help them to be able to verify or check which transaction took place that very day. So the analogy is the same too with our primary key. When a transaction has been taking place, because this is a sales analysis and that's to do with the data, the table we're working on is a sales data. Then what I'm trying to say is that each rows is a record of one transaction that took place in the table. So if I have on my row 1, it means that one transaction took place in row 1, row 2, another transaction took place in row 2. So now, do we need a primary key in your table when analyzing your data? I would say um yes, you can actually remove it, but that will actually cause inconsistency, because ideally you should have your primary key on in your data. Ideally, it is ideal for you to have it. Now let's say for example, now if you want to get your total number of transactions, let me remind you of one thing. You need to count your number of rows, right? For you to count your number of rows, you need to use your primary key to count the number of rows. So whenever you have a data, make sure you have your primary key. And I'll actually talk about foreign key. Foreign key is like when you have your um foreign key is like when you have another primary key from another table inside this other table, inside your sales table. Now let's take for example now, if you have your customer name as your customer table, which has the customer ID, it has the customer name, it has the customer phone number, and it has the customer address there. Understand? So the customer ID, if I want to link it back to my sales table, I need to have my customer ID as a foreign key in my sales table. So if I don't have my foreign key in my sales table, there's no way I can actually make a connection between them. So I'm actually going to be talking about this more in depth in when we are creating a calendar table, because I'll actually create a calendar table. A calendar table is going to be like a separate table whereby there will not be duplicating it, because I'm not going to be using the calendar, I mean the date. I'm not going to be using the date in this my sales table. I'm going to remove out my what's it called, my date from this date table. Not to bore you with much talk, I think we just need to get our hands dirty and just continue with the analysis. So now looking at this now. With this data, you actually cannot do anything with it. It's just all in one column. The data is just separated by comma, and we need to do something about this. The first thing we need to do is for us to split the data into different columns using what they call split column function. So I'll actually come here. We can use this process up here in the ribbon section and click on split column drop down, and I'll say by delimiter. So when I click on by delimiter, it's going to open up a dialog box where it's going to ask me for option of yes, this wasn't going to ask me. It's going to ask me because the system Power Query is so powerful in the sense that it actually checks your data and asks it that okay, yes, you have comma as our delimiter. So let me talk what is a delimiter. Delimiter is a symbol that differentiates two numbers. In other cases, you might see semicolon. In other cases, you might see um, equals to or whatever. Whichever the case is, just know that any symbol that differentiates a data, it is what you know as a delimiter. So now let me explain what this dialog box is talking about. The first one is saying select or enter delimiter. Mind you, my delimiter is comma, because when you look at the index comma date, it's showing that from index and date, what the symbol that differentiate them, that splits them into two, is a comma. So that's why you have comma here. And again, split as split as leftmost delimiter shows that if I split as the leftmost delimiter means that I will split from just my from index and I'll leave the rest. When I will split from the rightmost delimiter means that I will split from the promo amount and leave the rest. But in my own case, I want it to split at each occurrence. So at each occurrence where you see the comma, help me split this, and that's what we need to do. The system is so wise enough, it has given us the right option. So what we need to do is just for us to click on OK. So now we've clicked on OK. Let's see what's going to happen. You see, it has actually split the column into different. It actually splits the um. It has split the data into different column. So what we're gonna do, but what we're gonna do with this, uh, we are going to. Okay, before I proceed, let me just do orientation on how Power Query interface what is made of. The first one is home. The second tab, this is what they call tab. This four um, button you see here is what they call tab. We have the home tab. The home tab have these ribbons here. Then we have the transform. Then we have the add, and we have the view. This is where the view is where we do our EDA. That is to do for column profile, um, column quality, and all of that. So if you want to change this name of your sheet, you can actually come here and change it to, let's say, fat table. Fat table. Let's name it to fat table. Enter. So you can see now it has changed to, we have changed the name. If you want to undo any step in Power Query, there's nothing like Control Z. You have to delete. Look at this. This is apply step. You have to cancel each step that has been originally taken. So in our case, we've not made any mistake yet, so we are not going to click on that yet. But I'll show you that. Okay, let me click on this. No, let me do one process, then I'll click. The apply step will show, then I'll click on it. So now let's say, for example, I actually do this. Let me just delete this first. I remove. Click on remove. You can see the apply step shows here. So if I want to undo it back again, I'll just come to this star and click on it. So it will bring us back again to the previous step. Now let's continue. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to promote the first row as headers. Let's go back to home. So if you check your ribbon section, you're going to see in your transform section, you're going to see use first row as header. So I'm going to click on the drop down, then I'll click on use first rows as headers. So I'm going to click that. So it's going to promote our index to the header. Let me click on this. Let me cancel this stuff. I'm actually going to show something. So now, looking at this, we're going to notice that the index happens to fall in our row 1. But look at this. This is row 1. Our row 1 is index, dates, and revenue. But our header is column 1, column 1.1, column 1, and the other one is column 1.2. This is not our header. We need to promote our row 1 into the header. You understand? So this one can actually take its own place. So back to what I was saying, we are going to go to um, the home. We go to the use first row as the header. Click on the drop down. Then I'll click that again. So it will promote the index to the header and 1 to the row 1. So there's no second thing we want to do. We want to check for our data quality in our index column because this happens to be our primary key. So we need to check if there's any duplicate in it or not. So I'll go to views. I'll check on the views. So I'll click here. Let's see what's gonna happen. So Let me click on column distribution. No, uncheck this. Our column profile should show us this. So now let's look at this. This is distinct 201 and unique 100. So let me explain this thing. Distinct actually counts both the unique value and the duplicated value, while unique counts only just the unique value alone. You understand? So if you want that, what I'm trying to say here is that if you subtract this from this, you're going to get the total number of duplicated value. Definitely we have 101 duplicated value. But before we actually discard this, we need to do something. If we can see that we have index inside our index column, so let's confirm that because it's part of the row. That's why it's showing this bar here. Anything you have here, that's what's going to show here, and it takes the highest frequency. So let's click on the drop down. We cannot find it here. You just click and drag down because most of the time your dirty or your unwanted data happens to be on the top or on the bottom. So we uncheck the index, then we'll click on OK. So now we uncheck the index. So we click on the index back again. So we have it 200 and 100. There are still some duplicates inside. So we need to check. How do we confirm that? Let's scroll down. Okay. There's still some duplicates inside there. So now what we're going to do is we would actually remove this what's it called? Let's do something. We're actually gonna remove this index because if we say let's remove the duplicates, we are going to alter our data. That is the data, the quality of the data is not going to be complete anymore. So let's remove the index and create another primary key for ourselves. So we're going to right click on this, I right click on my index, then I'll click on remove. So for us to create a new primary key, we're going to go to add column, we go to the index column, click on the drop down and we say from 1. So we click on the index data type, then we'll click on text, then we right click, I will say move. So we want to move this to the beginning, I'll say move to beginning. So now I have my primary key back again. So now let me check my data quality back again. So I'll go to my view, I'll click on um the index. So now see what you have. I have distinct 300 and unit 300. Okay, good. So let me go to my dates, check my dates. What's my date for? So I'll change my date to the date data type, then my revenue, change my revenue to currency. I'll actually change my customer review. My customer review ought to be in text, but I want to change it to number because I'm saying I want to do a conditional formatting on it. So I'll change this to what's it called, a number. I'll change this to O number. So based on our objective, we didn't say anything that has to do with promotion mode. So we're gonna click on the promotion mode, right click. We're not anything to do with promotion mode. We're gonna remove that. Our amounts, promotion amounts, right click, and we're gonna remove that as well. So now we have left with promote product name. So in a logical sense, for me, I not for me in general terms, it's always okay when you see a text um, column, you just need to trim it because you don't know. You might have spaces in front of your data or probably at the back of your data. So let's right click this. I would say um, go to transform, then click on trim. So assuming there's any unwanted space in this data, is going to trim it out. So we can see that the Dell and the Samsung does not have the same font um, structure. So we want to do each word should be capitalized. So right click here, then go to transform. I will say capitalize each word. Then click that. Okay. So this is our table. This is our table index, date, revenue, and customer review with product name. So we are actually done with the cleaning, but there are still some things we need to do. We need to now start transforming the data. You understand? Yeah, we need to start transforming the data because we are done with the cleaning. Not start transforming the data. What I mean by transforming the data is putting the data in the proper shape for it to be able to answer the uh, for it to be able to solve the problem by meeting up to the objective we actually set. So remember that we actually want to do a date analysis too as well. So when it comes to sales, me I actually prefer removing my date for my date table for my what's it called? I prefer creating my calendar table from my date column. Reason why I like doing that is that it helps me to do what they call time intelligence function. Time intelligence function in the sense that if I want to calculate year to year growth, I would just use my time intelligence functions to do that. But time intelligence function must actually meet this condition. Your calendar date has to be created and has to be a one-to-many relationship. Let me not blow your mind with a lot of technical grammar also, but I do know that once we dive into the tutorial, you're gonna get what I'm actually talking about. So I want to create a I want to create a calendar table. So there are several ways whereby you can create a calendar table. We can actually create a calendar table from our Power Query where we are at right now, or we can create it on our Power Pivot. So I wouldn't want to create it here. I want to create it in my Power Pivot. Creating my Power Pivot is still the same way of me creating it. Just that if I create my Power Pivot, I will have to edit it in my Power Pivot. I can't bring it down to Power Query to edit it. So having said that and done that, the only thing I'm going to do right now is just to transform my customer review right now. I want to say whenever you see one, make it very bad. Whenever you see two, make it bad. Whenever you see three, make it fair or probably neutral. And whenever you see four, make it good. And five should be very good. So now let's go back to our analysis. So I'm going to go to add column, then I'll go to conditional column. So I'm trying to say a conditional column. If you're a programmer or probably you work with conditional statements, I'm very sure this, if you know how to use if statements, not going to be something that is going to be complex for you because conditional statement is a statement like if I come to the class and if I come to the class, the tutor is around, I will stay and listen to the class. Else, I'll go back home. So you've actually set a conditional statement like if this thing is yes, comes out as true, I'll perform this. Else I'll do the otherwise. So every conditional statement has to be closed with a else statement. You can't open a conditional statement like if and not close it with a else statement. So let's and when it comes to a conditional column that you actually want to do right now, the system is going to ask you for do you want to create what's going to be your new column? On a default, it's actually going to say custom. but we don't want to leave it at custom. We're going to say UX, that is user experience, or yeah, user experience review. Then we'll come down to say if then we change the color name. If customer review, we leave it as equals to customer review equals to 1. Then we'll say make it very low. Then we'll come back again and say calculus customer review say equals to 2. Make it low. So the third loss is going to be neutral. Or we just leave it at very bad. Very bad sounds the okay and bad. Then we'll actually come here. Okay, we actually created else if customer review equals to 3, and this is gonna be neutral. 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 So the fourth one is gonna be equals to 4, good, and the last one. So with this, the last statement is gonna come down to the else. You understand? Because I told you before writing the statement, I said whenever you open a statement with the if statement, you must actually close it. So our last statement is what we are going to use to close this, because close this statement, because you're saying if inside customer review, if you see 1, make it very bad. If you see 2, make it bad. Just like that. Else, make it very good. So then I'll click on OK. So this is going to form another column right from the end uh, of the table. So Excel doesn't know the data type for this our added column, so we need to change it to text. They'll say text. So yeah, we're done with this now. Then we'll go to home. Then we'll say the drop down. Then we'll click on close and load. So this has taken us to Elzo. I'm gonna make a registry. Time to off. Stop.